The Longhorns took care of San Jose State, but the Texas offense has some serious issues. We'll talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember to leave a comment. That's one of the fastest ways to help us grow right here on Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We'll get to some of the good from the Longhorns' 38-7 win over San Jose State a little bit later in today's episode. And of course, there was plenty of good, but we've got to start with the bad. The Texas offense is bad right now. Now, the key words there, right now. They've got plenty of time to get things in gear and to completely change the perception of that group here in 2025. But I have been very underwhelmed with this Longhorn offense through the first two games of the 2025 season. Now, you may look at the scoreboard from Saturday and say, BK, 38 points isn't that bad. Why are you complaining? Well, the reason Texas put up 38 is because the defense forced 4 turnovers in the first half, and they gave the Texas offense a bunch of short fields. Of course, the Longhorn offense had to go out there and score, and they did score 21 points off of those 4 takeaways. But drives of 34 yards, 36 yards, and 1 yard against San Jose State, in the words of Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. I think I'd be quoting her today. Here's what the Texas offense did when they weren't gifted short fields. The Longhorns had 11 possessions that started in their own territory. You know how many of those drives ended in points? 3 of them. You had 6 punts, a fumble lost, and an interception on the other 8. I get it. You're not going to score on every possession. I'm not expecting 11 of 11, but I am expecting a little bit more consistency when you're playing a team like San Jose State. Texas scored a total of 6 times in the game, 5 touchdowns and a field goal, but they only went more than 40 yards on 2 of those drives. And again, consider the opponent. We're not talking about Ohio State. We're not talking about Georgia or Oklahoma or A&M. We're talking about a G5 school that you were more than 5 touchdown favorites against. This Texas offense, through 2 games, has not shown the ability to sustain long drives. And some of the numbers, when you really dive in and look at what went down on Saturday, not pretty. Texas was 2 of 12 on third down against San Jose State. 2 of 12. Their average yards to go on those third downs, 9.7. So not only did they not get it done on the money down, but they also struggled to win consistently on first and second down too, which is why they had so many third and longs. You shouldn't be behind the chains against a team like that. And that's a 2-week problem for Texas right now. Through these first 2 games, the Longhorns are 7 of 26 on third down. That's a 27% conversion rate, which has them ranked 110th in the country and also dead last in the SEC. That's not good. Situational football has been an issue for the Longhorns in recent years, and it has been an issue in the start of this year as well. The third down offense was bad. How about the red zone offense? After going 0 for 2 with 0 points scored in Columbus, look, the good news is Texas did have 3 red zone touchdowns in this game against San Jose State. The bad news, they also had 2 turnovers. The Arch interception at the end of the first half and the Jarrett Gibson fumble, which that play started at the 21-yard line, so some won't classify that as a red zone turnover, but Gibson was at the 15-yard line when he lost the ball. So I'm calling that a red zone turnover because they were inside the 20 when the turnover actually happened. So for me, and I think for everybody, they went 3 of 5 in the red zone on Saturday. That's a 60% scoring percentage in the red zone against San Jose State. For context, last year, Texas ranked 111th in the country in red zone scoring percentage. That's either touchdowns or field goals compared to every red zone trip that you have. They scored points on 77% of their possessions, and they were 111th. They scored 60% or on 60% of their red zone possessions on Saturday. And then if you combine both games, the Longhorns are now 3 of 7 in the red zone. That's less than 43%, which puts them at 120th in the country in that statistic. So 110th in third down offense. How about 120th in red zone offense? With this talent and this quarterback and this head coach, that's unacceptable right now. More on some of the situational stuff from Saturday's game. You know, there weren't a lot of big moments on Saturday. Like once Texas scored those 28 points in that 4-minute, 56-second stretch at the end of the first quarter and the start of the second, the game was pretty much over. But there were a couple of situational opportunities for the Longhorns that they didn't take advantage of. They had a 4-minute drill chance at the end of the first half. Texas went 3 and out, punted it right back. They also had a 2-minute drill after the fourth and final takeaway. Texas forces and recovers a fumble. They start to move the ball a little bit, but that drive ends with the Arch Manning interception at the goal line. So you had a 4-minute drill. You had a 2-minute drill at the end of half number 1 when all of your starters were still out there, and you didn't convert on either. Obviously, the situational stuff against Ohio State was awful, mainly the red zone where you went 0 for 2 with 0 points. Unfortunately, there's more. The penalties. The penalties were brutal. Texas had 12 of them for 115 yards. Now, those weren't all on the offense, and Colin Simmons did his part on the defense. You had a couple of special teams penalties in there as well, but I believe the offense accounted for 8 of the 12 accepted penalties for Texas. A few holds, including the first play of the game. It was a great play call. The jet sweep to DeAndre Moore picks up like 20 yards. Looks like the offense is going to get into an early rhythm. It gets called back because of a Parker Livingston hold. You had a block in the back on Aaron Butler deep down the field. There was an illegal shift penalty. You had a personal foul chop block from the 1-yard line. Like that's another red zone woe. Thankfully, Texas was able to overcome that, and they still scored a touchdown on that drive. But if you commit a 15-yard penalty at the 1-yard line against a better team, you might not score. That might cost you. It was a brutal chop block there. You had another Brandon Baker false start. I mean, it was a little bit of everything for Texas when it comes to a penalty standpoint. Now, again, this stat isn't all on the offense, but a lot of it is. Texas right now through 2 weeks is averaging 82.5 penalty yards per game. That is 124th in the country. There's only 135 teams in Division I FBS college football. Texas ranks 124. So again, the third down offense is at 110. The red zone offense is at 120, and the penalties are at 124. That's bad, guys. Y'all don't need me to tell you that. You understand that. We'll dive into more in the next segment. And again, there was some good from this offense on Saturday. I promise. And we'll talk about that in segments 2 and 3. But one more bad to wrap up this opening segment. I was very unimpressed with the Longhorns' run game on Saturday. Now, 2 things. Number 1, they ran it really well against Ohio State. So we've seen that part of the Texas offense look good, which gives me hope that it will look good again, right? Some of the other things we talked about, they've been bad for 2 weeks. The run game was very impressive, especially considering the opponent last weekend. Not so great in week 2, but that's annoying. And then number 2, the other thing, Quintravion Wisener didn't play. He's your top running back, the lone returning 1,000-yard rusher in the conference. Him not being out there is a big loss. If he did play, I think the run game would have looked a lot better. I think the numbers would have looked a lot better as well. But you ran it for $166 on 4.5 yards a carry against an awesome Ohio State defense on the road in week 1. And San Jose State gave up 230 rushing yards to Central Michigan in week 1. Those 2 things together, I'm thinking the Longhorns are going for at least 250 in this game on like 6 or 7 yards a carry. Instead, it was 32 carries for 155 yards. They had less rushing yards against San Jose State than they did Ohio State. San Jose's not even a state. 4.8 yards a carry, which, it's not terrible against a lot of teams. You would absolutely take that. But this team, and if you remove the Arch Manning runs and the Ryan Wingo reverse, you just look at the Texas running backs in this game, 27 carries, 123 yards. That's 4.5 yards a carry. Central Michigan last week averaged 6.48 yards per running back run against this same defense on the road last week. Didn't love the juice from the running backs. I thought the offensive line didn't have a great game on Saturday. I mean, 4 TFLs. You only allowed 1 against Ohio State last week. You allowed 4 to San Jose State. That means they got into the backfield and their penetration was better than it should have been. So, look, it's a lot more fun to be critical after a win. I'm much happier today than I was last Monday, believe it or not. But, man, this offense has left a lot to be desired through 2 games. And we should all be pretty thankful that the Horns have 2 games in 3 weeks to get things cleaned up before SEC play gets here. Because this version of the offense, it's not getting you to Atlanta. That's the first goal, right? Get to the SEC championship. Of course, you want to win that. You want to make a run at a national title too. The Texas offense that we've seen through 2 weeks, not good enough. But again, plenty of time to get it cleaned up. All right, one more complaint about the offense. It's a stat that I think every Longhorn fan needs to know, and then we will get to the positives. I promise there were some positives from the offense. We will talk about them next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Oh, but first, a word for our friends at Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today, and you can see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. You talk about a game changer, they've got you covered right there. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and a dedicated support line, they make the whole process much smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Head over to supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Again, supplyhouse.com, real people, real service. And also a word for our friends at Game Time. College football is back. I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. I was hanging out by DKR all day on Saturday. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Long lines, hidden fees, random price jumps at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with zero surprise fees. That's right. What you see is what you pay. Amazing deals for every game. The Longhorns are at home these next 2 weeks. If you want to watch them play in person, head over to Game Time. Faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I bought tickets in the past. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Locked On College is the promo code. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. All right, back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. The last bad stat from the Longhorn offense, and we'll get to the good. It's a continuation of a problem that we talked about last week. Texas is not good out of the gate. The Longhorns have played now 32 games since the beginning of the 2023 season. San Jose State was game number 32. That means they've had 32 opening possessions on offense since 2023. They have scored points on 9 of those 32 drives. That's it. That's 28%. And of course, Texas started the game with a punt on Saturday. So it was 9 of 31 going into the weekend. Now it's 9 of 32 coming out of the weekend. And if you look at this year's team in a vacuum, Texas has been pretty bad offensively pretty much every time they've come out of the locker room. They've played 2 games, meaning they've played 4 halves. If you look at their first 2 drives in each of the 4 halves, so the first 8 drives in either the first or the third quarter through 2 weeks. It's a lot of numbers. I'm sorry, but I think y'all are following me here. Texas has scored a total of 3 points. 3 points on 8 drives in either the first or third quarter. It can't take you 3 or 4 possessions in a half to get things going offensively. Too much talent on this offense, and it's unfair to your defense if you're just doing nothing the first few times you get the ball. They have to be better out of the gates. They have to be better at a lot of things, honestly. But that's a problem, a continuation of a problem that continues to rear its ugly head. All right, let's get to the good from the Longhorn offense. We'll start with Arch Manning. I thought Arch Manning was pretty good on Saturday. Like, PFF agrees with me. He's the highest graded player on offense for Texas. Much better day than what we saw in Columbus. Now, the bar was pretty low, but there were a lot of encouraging signs from QB1. 19 of 30, 295 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Did have that bad interception in the red zone. Also had added a rushing touchdown as well. That's a pretty good stat line. And there were a few drops in there from his receivers and tight ends. So the stat line should have been better. Completion percentage higher, more yards. Should have been better than what it was, but still a pretty solid stat line for Arch. The rushing touchdown was awesome. We just haven't seen that with this Texas offense over the last few years. The elusiveness, the ability to tiptoe the sideline and extend the ball over the pylon like that. That was an impressive display of athleticism from Arch. But in terms of the passing, he just looked more relaxed. I thought his pocket presence was better. Still a couple of balls that he would like to have back. Still some mechanical issues at times, perhaps a bit gun shy at times too. Missed a couple of receivers that maybe he had down the field, and I don't know if he didn't see them or just didn't trust himself to make the throw. So there's some things to clean up for Arch Manning. There's no doubt about that, but it was a much, much better performance. Like, he improved a lot from week 1 to week 2. And if he improves as much as he did from week 1 to week 2 in every week the rest of the way, he's going to be just fine. And of course, getting 2 more games against nobody should help build his confidence up for SEC play. The deep ball looks good. Arch was 4 for 8 on Saturday for 194 yards and 2 touchdowns through 2 games this season on passes of more than 20 yards or 20 yards or more down the field. He's 7 of 13, 3 touchdowns and an interception on those passes. 54%. That's pretty good for deep shots for a college quarterback. I like that. I'd like to see more of that. Again, I thought there were some opportunities for Arch down the field that he didn't take in this game on Saturday. Hopefully he watches more film, he gets more reps, and he learns this offense and gets more familiar with this offense. He's going to anticipate those plays opening up and take those chances. I like Steve Sarkisian's decision, to play Arch Manning well into the fourth quarter. He needs the reps. Plenty of learning moments. The interception, one of them. Again, a lot to improve on, but I thought a much better performance by Arch Manning, which was good to see. We probably should have started with Parker Livingston if we're talking about the good from the Longhorn offense. How good is he? 4 catches, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, scored the first 2 touchdowns of the game, meaning he was responsible for the first 3 Longhorn touchdowns in 2025. He's a monster. The 83-yard catch and run where he's running away from the defense, the great route that he ran at the goal line on his second touchdown to beat man coverage, a big catch and run that was negated by an Aaron Butler block in the back. He had another great catch as well that was called back because of, I think it was a DJ Campbell holding penalty. Like, the stat line was great. It should have been better. If other guys weren't committing all of these penalties around him, it would have been better. Parker Livingston looks the part. He's 6'4", great speed. The chemistry with Arch Manning is absolutely there, right? We're trying to figure out Ryan Wingo, and we might do a segment on Ryan Wingo tomorrow. It's clear that the chemistry between Arch and Wingo isn't where it needs to be. It's very clear that the chemistry between Arch and Livingston is there. McCoy Shipley 2.0. That's what we all want. They've got a long way to go to get there. But Parker Livingston is this team's number 1 wide receiver right now, and I don't think it's close. So 13 needs the ball more. Plain and simple. They have to give him a bigger role in this offense because he's the best that they have on the outside right now. Jack Endries, I thought, had a really good day. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns for him. Tweaked his ankle a little bit, so he didn't play much in the second half. He's fine. If this was a game against a better team and this was a closer game, I think Endries would have been out there. Him not playing allowed some other guys to get some opportunities, which Texas has some depth in their tight end room, but it's a bunch of young guys outside of Endries, so getting them some in-game reps will take. But I think Jack Endries is the real deal. I think he's an all-SEC caliber tight end. And with Mosley out, we'll see if DeAndre Moore plays this week. Remember, he left the game a little bit early. I think it's a stinger. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious, but maybe they'll keep Moore out against UTEP this week. Who knows? Jack Endries could be seeing a bigger role, and I am okay with that. Talked about the complimentary football. Look, 21 points off of 4 takeaways. We'll take it, right? I mean, the 4 takeaways is great, but if you can't do anything with it, doesn't matter a whole lot. Texas was able to take advantage, and the offense did cash in on the short fields when they got them. So that's a positive. Complimentary football. Texas didn't do that in week 1. Much more of that in week 2. And also the explosive plays. Texas had 14 explosive plays on Saturday. That's 20% of their offense were explosives. twice as good as they had against Ohio State. And that 20%, that's kind of the percentage that Steve Sarkisian talks about a lot. That's the goal for the Longhorn offense. So they wanted more explosives. They got it. A lot to clean up, but some good from the offense. A lot more good in week 2 than we saw in week 1. That's for sure. All right, we'll take your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below your major takeaways from the offense. Am I being too harsh? Am I not being harsh enough? Always love hearing from y'all. Okay, one segment. I always like to end on a high. We got to give the defense some well-deserved flowers after another strong performance on Saturday. We'll talk about the Longhorn D coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Oh, but first, a shout out to our friends at the Game Cap. I'm rocking one right now. Quick question for all of you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hats would you be wearing? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it would be this one, the Game, right here. These aren't just hats. These are the same vintage styles that fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price that they did back then. When you use the code Locked On, you're going to get your vintage hat just like this one for $16.99. Where can you get a hat that looks this good at that price nowadays? I'll answer that. Nowhere besides thegamecaps.com. So head over to thegamecaps.com, grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design, and use the promo code Locked On for that exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. All right, final segment. It's a Monday edition of Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. 2 games, 2 great performances from the Longhorn defense. They were one of the best in the country in 2024, and they look every bit of that once again in 2025. They've given up a total of 21 points in these first 2 games. And, man, the first game, Ohio State put up 70 on Saturday. I know they were playing Grambling, but that offense clearly has some juice. Even though they've got a young quarterback and a lot of guys new from last year, they scored 70 in game 2 after Texas held them to just 14 in game 1. And then San Jose State, they averaged 27 points per game last season. Not terrible. I talked about it last week. Phil Steele has San Jose State finishing 2nd in the Mountain West this year. Not trying to spin them as some sort of great team, but hey, that's a solid team in the G5. You're able to hold them to just 7 points. Obviously, the best good for Texas, the takeaways, right? 0 last week in Columbus. If there is anything the Longhorn defense did wrong against Ohio State, it's the fact that they didn't take the ball away. They responded. And Sark all week long talked about wanting more takeaways, about 4 turnovers for the Texas defense in the first half alone against the Spartans. And I think the best part, you had a bunch of different guys involved, right? Jelani McDonald tip turned into a Jalen Gilbo pick. Anthony Hill forced a couple of fumbles. Trey Moore had a nice scoop. I don't know how he didn't score. It blows my mind that guy went out of bounds at the 1-yard line. That should have been a scoop and score for the Texas defense, but still good to see him involved there. How about Anthony Smith, a guy that we love on this channel? He forces and recovers a fumble. Good to see. The 4 takeaways you'll take. And again, the fact that it was a bunch of different guys involved, really good. And even better that it led to 21 Texas points. I was pretty impressed by the Longhorn secondary. Like last year, San Jose State ranked 5th in the country in passing yards per game at 322. Texas held them to just 188 in this game, and they threw it a lot, 43 passing attempts. They were 21 of 43, so that's good, less than a 50% completion percentage allowed. But, yeah, they were flinging the ball a lot, and you only gave up 188 yards through the air, and you were also playing a bunch of different guys too. So it wasn't all perfect. There's some guys who, some teachable moments right there. San Jose State did have a couple of drops that could have made those passing numbers look a little different. But overall, from top to bottom, the communication with the Texas defense, that's something I've been focused on. Without Jahdae Barron, without Andrew Makuba, who were so big and so good last year, I was a little nervous about the communication on the back end and how it would look. So far through 2 games, we haven't really seen a lot of defensive breakdowns at all from Texas, and that is nice to see. Even when the second and third stringers are in there, you're still seeing that communication look on point. The run defense, solid, holding San Jose State to just 2.9 yards a carry. Some individual standouts. Murad Watson, the Syracuse transfer. He had a tough go of it against Ohio State. Great day on Saturday. Had 1.5 sacks in the win. First 1.5 sacks of his Texas career. Very impressed with Brad Spence. He had the highest pass rush win rate, easy for me to say, of any Longhorn defender on Saturday. 4 pressures in just 14 pass rush attempts. He could start to turn those pressures into QB hits and sacks, then Texas might have something pretty special there. I thought Trey Moore had a whale of a game. I think you saw kind of why the coaching staff moved him back from edge to off-ball linebacker. That guy's got some speed. He's got some instincts. He was flying around the field in the game. Lance Jackson, the true freshman, played really well. Zeno Mozulu played really well. A lot of promise. A lot of promise from some of those young guys who got to see a lot of action, especially in the second half as Texas improved on its lead. Not perfect. Some things that need to improve. Colin Simmons has to be better. I think we're going to do a segment on tomorrow's show where we just talk about Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo, the 2 guys who are number 1 for Texas. They have not had the starts to their seasons that they would have liked and that we would have liked. Colin Simmons has to be better. 3 penalties on Saturday. He's got 4 through the first 2 games. Did have half a sack, but there's been more bad than good. And just the pass rush in general, like Texas only has 2 sacks through 2 games. This group, pretty much everybody talked about wanting to lead the SEC in sacks this year. Not off to a great start. Plenty of time left. Interestingly enough, I looked. Georgia also only has 2 sacks through 2 games. So the sacks aren't the only thing. Again, 21 total points allowed through 2 games. You'll take that. The 4 takeaways, you'll absolutely take that. I mean, overall, this defense looks the part. Like, this is a national title worthy Texas defense right now. And I also think they're going to improve. We're talking about the Longhorn offense getting better, right? How they made a jump from week 1 to week 2 and how there's still plenty of room for them to grow. I think this defense still has plenty of room for it to grow as well. There's still some new faces at some key spots on that side of the football. Obviously, you have a couple of new assistant coaches back there as well. So guys still trying to get familiar with one another, still trying to work out some kinks. That group right now, though, I'm telling you, they look national title worthy. And if they continue to get better, then look out. The Texas defense has been carrying the weight right now. The Longhorns just need their offense to carry the load a little bit more. But shout out to the Texas defense. A very, very impressive showing by them against San Jose State on Saturday. So there you go. That'll do it for today's show. The offense, a work in progress. A lot to clean up, plenty of time to clean it up. Again, I'm very grateful that UTEP and Sam Houston are the next 2 teams on the schedule. Then you've got the bye week before you go to Florida, which may be an easier game after what we saw from the Gators Saturday night. But, that's still a road atmosphere. Won't be easy. And then Oklahoma, impressive showing for them against Michigan. You really want to be buttoned up for your biggest rival in Dallas in mid-October. But that's going to do it for today's show. If you've made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. It's one of the fastest ways to help us grow. Really do appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets with my man Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers. They are your one-stop shop for all of your sports betting needs. Expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. You can find them all. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll have some Steve Sarkisian sound on tomorrow's show. Again, we're going to talk about Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo as well. Plenty more Longhorn football as we roll along here in the 2025 season. Football is back. First full football weekend of the year. It was awesome, and we got a lot more coming up. It's a beautiful thing. All right, that's going to do it for today. Appreciate y'all watching. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.